many prominent Americans, including Averell Harriman, the prominent diplomat, and the CBS newsman, Edward R. Murrow, that she divorced Randolph Churchill at the end of World War II, at which time she moved to Paris and was supported in great luxury by a string of exceedingly wealthy and powerful men. After which she married Leland Hayward, the Broadway producer, and lived in New York City until his death 10 years later, at which point she was reunited with Averell Harriman, one of her wartime lovers, married him, built a reputation as a political hostess and fundraiser for the Democratic Party, that when Averell Harriman died in 1986, she inherited a substantial fortune, and only a few years ago she became ambassador to France. And in the intervening years, she was sued by Averell Harriman's family and charged with losing tens of millions of dollars from their trust funds. And I also knew that she had managed all her life to be where the action was. And in the book, I compare her to Leonard Zelig in the Woody Allen film, who kept turning up in all these pictures, and so did she. And a few people really over the past 50 years have dealt so closely with so many powerful men in so many different arenas, in politics and diplomacy, in show business and society, and that along the way she had transformed herself from a kind of 19th century character to a late 20th century career woman and self-styled feminist. I could find nobody in this century who had made those kinds of leaps. That's the legend, and I think our Vice President, Al Gore, summed it up best during her swearing in as ambassador when he said, to paraphrase Voltaire, if Pamela Harriman did not exist, we would have had to invent her. Well, I didn't invent her, but I did spend 5 years finding out who she really is. And my main challenge was really to get behind that legend. And my only fear at the outset was that she might well have been little more than a publicity creation. But fortunately, I discovered that she does have layers of complexity, and certainly enough of that I was kept engrossed through years of research and writing, and remain engrossed to this day, and love talking about her. I learned that her somewhat distant and enigmatic manner is something that she has used to conceal herself. That she has spent a lifetime, as one of her friends described it, hiding her game. So many people who come into contact with her have thought she was what she seemed. But I discovered that she's not what she seems at all, but rather what she has very definitely chosen to be. 3 years ago at the White House Correspondents' Dinner in Washington, Barbra Streisand slid into the seat next to hers and said in a stage whisper, "What is your secret?" Well, Pamela didn't answer, but she did reply with a coy laugh. It's a question that many people have asked over the years, especially many women. And in my view, her secret is most effectively revealed in her story, and that is the real story behind that legend. And it is an intensely private tale of relationships that had not been previously told. In part, her secret is a mixture of numerous traits, all in perfectly measured proportions. And these include energy and resilience and focus and preparation, charm, shrewdness, willpower, organization, discipline, taste, attention to detail, patience, hard work, and a thorough knowledge of the social arts. And all these traits are set against her aristocratic upbringing. and the relationships that she has had with this series of prominent men, as well as her achievements in more recent years in politics and diplomacy. And she has taken these traits and experiences and fused them into a kind of mystique that has given her great power, almost like a movie star. When people meet her, they see someone who has a sort of aura, who has a public reputation, but at the same time cultivates a sense of mystery. For the men who have known her, having Pamela as a mistress was like joining a club that became more famous with the initiation of each new member. The scandal of her life, she turned to ornament, wrote a French novelist named Maurice Drouin, who was one of her admirers during the 1950s. He was actually writing about a character in one of his novels who happened to be an aging courtesan. And he might well have been inspired by Pamela, but his words certainly resonate when you think about Pamela, when he wrote, "Everyone wanted to see at close quarters whether all that was said about her was true. She chose her lovers well and seldom missed a famous man within her reach without bequeathing him a memory. Her lover was glory and her bed a pantheon." The legend of Pamela Harriman has always been rich with anecdote, but it's been conspicuously lacking in meaning. So to find that meaning and to get behind the legend, I sought out people who knew her, and it turned out to be 400 of them, give or take a few, and I interviewed many of them repeatedly. I also found a lot of crucial new information tucked away in letters and diaries and other documents that were in archives here and in England. And in putting together the book, I tried to integrate those personal recollections with the archival material to put together a narrative in which Pamela Harriman's quest for money and power helped her advance, but intriguingly set her back by causing her to overreach at certain points in her life when her single-minded ambition and, in some cases, extravagance got the better of her. I was able to find out not only a lot more about what she had done in her life, but about how and why. That was what I was primarily interested in. And so if the book succeeds, it's because I was able to assess her motives and describe her techniques. Pamela Harriman really lived 6 different lives, and each of them had a fascinating set of characters. And she has been written off many times in the course of her 76 years. And each time she's managed to bounce back. When things looked really bleak, she simply reinvented herself. Late in her life, when she had achieved quite a degree of prominence in her political activities, a very wise and savvy European woman looked at me and said, "She has made herself virginal again."
She made up for with
people trying to understand Pamela Harriman
patrons.
have often been thrown off by that mystique. For example, because she was the daughter of the 11th Lord Digby, a lot of people assumed that she was well off, if not quite rich. But in fact, she came into the world practically broke. A lot of that had to do with the rules of primogeniture in the English upper class. And because she acquired such a reputation as a femme fatale, many people assumed that she had been quite beautiful and quite successful from the very beginning. But the fact was that she was scorned by her fellow debutantes and by the young men who were her contemporaries for being sort of plump and pushy at age 18 when she had her big debutante season, which was the rite of passage for young girls. I learned that her somewhat distant and enigmatic manner is something that she has used to conceal herself. that she has spent a lifetime as one of her